What's exciting is the data are what's enabling television to be more targetable, more, we'll say, addressable, right? That's the word people like to use. You know, and some of it's the technology about getting the right message to the right person, but all of it's data-driven. You know, and I grew up in a world where you're mass targeting to women 25 to 54, knowing that half, 50, I mean 80% of that is ineffective. It's wasted, but it's just the way you have to buy it. So it's almost like television borrowing the targeting paradigm from digital, where you can really effectively target just exactly the person you want, but bringing in the power of sight, sound, and motion to be persuasive and engaging. So that's very, very exciting. But it hinges on the quality and the accuracy of those targeting segments, the lists basically of people that you're going to try to reach. And we, in our research, have found that they can be highly variable. That you can buy, let's say it's, you know, everyone talks about new car intenders, but, you know, maybe it's new moms, maybe it's newly formed households, maybe it's heavy dental floss users, you know, whatever. And we've found that when you buy target audiences for those people, they might be great. You know, they might give you a 20, 30, 40% lift over just randomly targeting, or they might be no better than randomly targeting, or occasionally they're worse. And the issue is that there's no transparency. So you just go to a catalog, you say, yep, that's the one I want, you buy it, and you run the advertising targeting to that group of people, and you just, until you see that your results are not good, you really don't know whether you've gotten a good deal or not. So there needs to be much more transparency. There needs to be a way to evaluate these targets before the advertiser or the agency invests their money in them.
Transparency in what part of the ecosystem? Where is the dark spot, the opaque pieces?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of them, right? So, you know, it starts with where did the data come from in the first place? So, again, go back to those, let's say it's car buyers. So you can get data from the DMVs and you can see what cars were registered. That's pretty solid. You know, you can get data for those dental floss buyers from frequent shopper data, and that's pretty solid data. Or you can get data where people have looked at, let's say, website visits and said, well, they went to the Honda site, so they must be kind of interested in buying a car. Well, you know, just because I go to the Ferrari site doesn't mean I'm going to buy a Ferrari. I'm just kind of like to look at Ferraris. You know, it's car porn. So the source of the data is one thing. There are a bunch of other elements, like how old is the data. So maybe I was a new car intender a year ago. Maybe I'm still on the list. Maybe I'm not anymore. And one of the biggest issues is modeling, because you may have an actual list of 100,000, 500,000, 1 million people, but the advertiser wants to reach 40 million people. Well, how do you scale it up? You scale that up with some form of modeling. Lookalike modeling is what we would typically call it. And that modeling exercise might be more or less successful. So there's a lot that's baked into those targets that the advertiser or the agency needs to understand, and they need to be able to evaluate.
In terms of data sets that you're seeing that you're particularly jazzed about, or you think that are promising, or that need to be perhaps sorted out, what are some of those, if you can?
Yeah, we're working on a project right now, which is, it's a public project, so I can talk about it. It's for the Association of National Advertisers, and there's an initiative to help multicultural advertisers find better data. There's been a data gap, an affordability gap for data for multicultural marketing, and that includes targeting for advanced television or targeting in digital. It's the same thing. So how do you identify an Asian American? How do you know, is it because they were going to certain websites? Maybe they self-identify, but that's just people in a survey who self-identify, so that's fine, but it's very limited in scope. You know, how do you identify Hispanics? You know, we were having a conversation earlier about, you know, one way, so, you know, if people view Spanish language television or go to Spanish language websites, well, they must be Hispanic, but yet there are a lot of soccer fans who watch soccer on Univision or maybe Telemundo, and doesn't mean they're Hispanic. And even at that, if you're a Spanish speaker, that puts you in one segment of the Hispanic market. But, you know, if you're a fully acculturated English-speaking, English-dominant, maybe not even Spanish-speaking Hispanic, you still may be culturally Hispanic, and those kinds of ads might be more impactful and relevant and effective for you. But, you know, you're not going to be found on Spanish language media. So that one's particularly challenging. I don't know how that's going to turn out. We're at the very beginning of this project, and we're just exploring how this is being done by various data vendors. And by the summer, we'll know a lot more.
What about other sort of technology sources? We hear a lot about smart TVs, ACR, things like that are emerging we hear quite a lot about. You have any thoughts there?
Yeah. I'm very excited about both of those. I think they have a lot of promise. I'm particularly fond of ACR in mobile phones because a mobile phone generally relates to an individual. And one of the things that we've lost in a lot of the digital data and the device data is we've lost touch with who the person is. But when you have a mobile phone, so it's an ACR measurement on a mobile phone app, you know that it's me for the most part. And if you can make that link between the address of my phone and me, suddenly it opens up a wealth of information about how I feel about brands, my other habits, my psychographics, and it enables us to do marketing the way we've known to do marketing for decades. And that gets masked when you live in a world of devices. Now, smart TVs don't quite have that advantage because they're generally household-based, but their ability to connect directly does avoid a lot of the problems that we face in the world of data. I mean, connect their data directly to other data sets like digital outcomes or shopping data, purchase data, and things like that. So it's a very, very interesting data set. I think ACR in general offers a scalable solution that could be the measurement of television in the future.